A Vietnam veteran from New Jersey recently returned something he found on the battlefield almost 6 decades ago. It seemed an impossible task when he finally decided it was time to do it, but he soon found out the information he needed was right in front of him.
I must say that besides having children and being married, that it had to be one of the best days I've had to return the book.
It took Peter Matthews 56 years and 87 days to return a small book he found during the Vietnam War, a beautiful diary left behind after an ugly battle in Dak To. It was 1967 in South Vietnam.
This is the hill that you found the diary?
Part of it, yeah.
Part of it.
Yeah. On top of the hill, they shot down one of our helicopters. That's the tail part.
Matthews, then a sergeant with the 1st Cavalry Division, landed on Hill 724 after the bloody battle. His division ordered to count bodies and look for war documents from enemy soldiers. The diary was in an abandoned backpack. He decided to keep it.
Have you had time to think about why you did that?
So I recognized the beauty of it. The handwriting was amazing. And I just thought it was something to really cherish. I was also a little bit scared that if somebody else would see it, they told me to turn it in, to be honest.
With only weeks left to serve, his sole focus was survival and getting back home. His homecoming, though, posed new challenges. Originally from the Netherlands, he was drafted with only a green card and told he had to wait for his U.S. citizenship.
I got very mad about that, to put it mildly. So I had a couple of medals, I put my uniform, I put everything in a box.
Out of sight, out of mind.
I had hangover from Vietnam. I was drinking a lot. After that, I was actually homeless for about 6 weeks. Shortly after that, I met my wife, Kristine.
They raised children and decades passed. The 100-page diary remained mostly hidden away until he spotted something familiar at a client's home.
I worked for a person. He had one of those typical Vietnamese hats sitting in his office.
Matthews asked if he could help find someone to translate the diary.
This is a poem that he wrote, and it tells you about his devotion to Ho Chi Minh, how he adored him, how he loved the Communist Party, how he hated American soldiers, of course.
When you learned what this poem said, did you have any negative feelings about that?
No, I would be surprised if he wrote that he loved Americans.
Read that there for me.
It's a beautiful country, mountains, birds, singing, waiting for spring, but sleeping with a gun.
It's a reality.
Yeah.
A few translations offered a few insights, but still no idea who it belonged to. Turns out, the answer was there all along.
It's got his name, his sister's name, his mother and father's name, his full address.
And what did you think at that point?
I knew I was going to give it back to them. Whatever it had to take, I was determined.
That must have been a very emotional day.
Yes, I still choke up a little.
A story of his search eventually got the attention of the Vietnamese government. Within days, the soldier's family was overcome when they got the news.
I got a call, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, to turn on my iPhone, and I could watch them for the first time. They were showing the pictures of the booklet.
Peter Matthews, cựu binh Mỹ 77.
Matthews and his wife were on a plane to Vietnam within a month. His arrival and the diary's return made headlines.
Cuốn nhật ký cho gia đình.
Và vợ trao trả cho gia đình.
Lúc đó chúng tôi đang ở trên đỉnh.
I want to know how it felt to have the diary in your hand and then pass it over to a sister.
Well, it's like I handed over a cinder block.
It felt heavy?
It felt light once I gave it to her.
The owner of the diary was Cao Van Tuat, just 21 years old. His body never recovered. His family left with no pictures or mementos.
Nothing else.
Of him?
This is it. It's just they had the memory, that's it.
You gave them back something really incredible.
I think so.
When you hold on for something so long, it almost becomes a part of you.
Oh, yeah.
Do you miss it?
Yes. I mean, sometimes I would, you know, this is copies I have, but it's not the book. It's not holding it.
Copies of the diary's pages fills a binder Matthews takes out from time to time. So this was something he wrote about maybe someone he loved?
His girlfriend, and how he loved her, and how he mentioned he was going to ask for her hand when he returned. His girlfriend is now 80 years old.
Does she have a family? She never married? Wow.
How on earth can a person be a soldier fighting a war in a terrain like that with limited resources and take time out to create something this fascinating and beautiful?
How has this changed you?
My children are happy because they have read and heard about things they didn't know anything about because of me not talking about it.
His first time in Vietnam, Matthews was drafted to fight a war. His second, he brought one Vietnamese family peace.
It feels as if my uncle has come back to life, to be reunited with his family. I would like to deeply thank Mr. Matthews for his kindness.
Are you at peace?
Yeah, more than I was. I mean, it's a fairy tale ending after all these years.
It certainly is. According to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, the Vietnam War was our nation's longest and costliest during the Cold War. Over 8.7 million Americans served from 1964 to 1973. To find support groups and resources for Vietnam veterans, head to our website, cbsnewyork.com. We have a full list of helpful links.
Wow, what a story. He must feel like the weight of the world is off his shoulders and he's accomplished something incredible that he never imagined.
He never imagined that the chain of events would happen this way, but he's also learned, his family has learned a lot about him because he kept so many of these stories in for so many years. His children are now discovering things about him that they never knew. He's talking more openly about it with his family. So it's really been a gift, not just for this family in Vietnam, but also for his family.
Yeah, so many vets, they just hold it in, right?
Yes, and that's why we wanted to give out that link of resources.
Yeah, and he's a new man. Great story, great stuff.